The duck is back. The duck is back. Well, it's absolutely hammering down today. If I don't do these videos, it just doesn't happen. Haven't been in the mood for it for a bit. But today I am, so I am pulling my big fat guts in and trying to keep the BS to a minimum, and we'll get on with it. So we are getting into that, back into old sexy, the Ironhorse chopper. Finally had a hiccup, and I was trying to sort some technical stuff out on it, but I think I've passed that now. I've got that sorted. So we're, just so everybody understands where we're up to, I'm putting the valves, new valve seats, valve seals into the top of the valves, putting the valves and valve springs back into the heads. We've had I've set the valves, and some of this stuff I've already talked to you about, but I can't be bothered looking in the computer to see what I've done and what I haven't shown you. But we've had the valves remachined, and it's very critical that you have, when you have these, you take these components out, that you've got some record of where they go. For instance, in the top of this, on this top of this head holder, you can see up here it says rear head inlet and exhaust, which is pretty obvious. And then here, front head, exhaust and inlet, okay? And that's just a little wooden gizmo I've made to hold them nice. And the other thing I noticed today, bear with me, this is another one that I've done for other engines, bigger engines. So these are the valves out of the head. This one's had a little flipsy over. But what I wanted to show you is the amount of springs in these valves. So I don't know whether you can see it. So there's actually 3 lots of valve springs in here. There's the outside, then there's an in one, and then there's one inside that again, right? So hang on a minute, my fat fingers aren't working. Hope. And I'm sure quite a lot of valve, a lot of spring, and then on the heads here, you can see where we've had, I've taken it to the machinist, and we've put in this hole, which is the decompression hole to decompress the heads when you're starting, to take it easier on the starter. Now, for a little bit of useless information for you, especially with these 113 S&S engines, I'm not quite sure why someone would buy an engine like this and put it into a street bike. I think it honestly comes back to the size of their penis, but that's my take on it. But anyway, the point that I wanted to make, and it's not the point about the penis, the point that I want to make is that on a V113, which is commonly called 110 cube, identifying what engine it is can be slightly problematic, because if you haven't had the experience with them, they're quite hard to determine. You have to, there's a few different ways, a few measurements, and the other way you can do it is you can actually, if the engine is a crate engine from S&S, you can actually send the serial number into S&S site, and they will send you back the information on that engine, right? And the serial number is usually by the hole on the crankcases. So the point that I'm making here is that on a 113 engine, to start successfully on the street, they've got to have decompression solenoids. If you don't have decompression solenoids, the engine, the starter will always F out, will trying to start that engine because the compression is so much. And some of these engines from S&S, they're making them without the decompression solenoids in the heads. And the only reason why I can think that they're doing this is because it's a race engine for the racetrack, and maybe like when they, I don't know if you've ever been to the drags or that, they have these guns what go on the side of the engine. Some of them are air compressed, some are electric, and they have this auxiliary starter what they put into the side of the engine, usually onto the, I can't remember honestly where they put it, but they whack it in there and they turn the engine over, whoop, they get it going. So there's no criteria to have these solenoids. And what I think's been happening is that people have been buying these crate engines off S&S and then putting them into these motorcycles, like Ironhorse Chopper, I think, have bought this engine because, if you can imagine, it's going to be X amount of cost hooked to an engine what's got electronic decompression valves in it, okay, in the heads, right? So the one for the drag strip, probably $1,000 or a couple of $1,000 bucks cheaper, and that's usually what it comes down to, right? If you can imagine the Ironhorse Chopper factory, we're just trying to get the cheapest thing out of their workshop with the maximum profit, and that's what these companies do. So what I want to do, explain to you out there, all of you out there, if you ever get into that situation, there's a couple of easy things to look for. If you ascertain that it is a 113 or 110 cube and it is an S&S, something that you can look for is in the top of the heads, right? If this is for those that this is the lid what goes on the top of the engine, okay? And if you on a V113 or 110 cube S&S, which is a big engine, you should be able to get your fingers and put it down the hole here and feel the decompression valve, right? And if you can't feel anything, you need to understand that that's going to probably cause you a lot of problems later on down the track with starting, especially in here in New Zealand where it gets cold, because they're a lot harder to turn over. Here in New Zealand, on a lot of bikes, I put a switch in on the headlight, because you don't want bloody power going to the headlight. You want all the power going to the ignition and the starter, right? Anyway, get the sidetrack. So another way you can see it, another way you can tell is you can get a torch, right? You can get a torch and you shine the torch down through here and you can see whether there's an electronic solenoid in there, right? Same with the other side. You'll be able to see it through these air. This is really well done, because where we've had it machined, it's bright down in there, so you can really see. You can really see if there was something in there, yeah, or not, okay? And that's sort of where we're up to. I just wanted to do one to the, it's, you know, this engine had already been rebuilt, and I can put money on it that these valves were not removed, they were not machined, they did not replace the valve guide seals, which are these, you know, these little, like I just showed you before, these little blue ones what sit on top here, okay? So and the other reason why I do these videos too is because this customer lives like about 300 or 400 kilometers away. He can actually see that I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing, you know? It's proof of work. Where what I keep coming across time and time and time again is that these workshops will say, yep, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, and they're just a bunch of lying pricks. Really, it's absolutely disgusting what they're doing. And this, yeah. Anyway, waffling on. Oh, I wasn't sure about this. So, not sure if I showed you this. I probably have, but I'm gonna do it again. Whoa, look at that, baby. Yeah, baby. Hey? Woo! Isn't that pretty? Hey? Let's have a... Oh, yeah. Wow. Doesn't that make your heart sparkle? Anyway, enough waffling. I better put that back in the box and before I drop it. Anyway, better do some work, I suppose. Better get on and stop waffling. Alright, hope you guys and girls are having a good one. I'm having a good one. Look after yourself.